Look closely at the screen you are reading. Feel the weight of the air moving in and out of your lungs. Right now, you are absolutely convinced that you are a person, a mind inside a body, moving through a physical world. You do not merely believe this, you experience it with total certainty. And according to the sages of Vedanta, that certainty is the beginning of the illusion. What if the world is not something you are looking at, but something you are looking through? For thousands of years, the sages of India did not treat suffering as a punishment, or a moral failure, or a random accident of biology. They treated it as a diagnosis, a precise distortion in perception. And at the root of this distortion, they identified a single cause: avidya, ignorance. But not ignorance of information, not ignorance of books, ignorance of identity. Because you do not know what you are, you mistake yourself for what you are not. And this misidentification is what the ancient texts call Maya. The ancient texts did not explain Maya as an abstraction. They pointed to something you can see directly. To understand Maya, hold a single image in your mind. Imagine a piece of smooth silk, untouched, unfolded, perfectly still. When light falls upon it, the reflection is even, simple, whole. But now twist the silk lightly in your fist. Knot it, compress it, fold it into itself. Suddenly, shadows appear. Sharp ridges, hidden valleys, fractures. The silk did not change its substance. It is still silk. But to the eye, it now appears divided. Chaotic, complex. This is the dual power of Maya. The first power of Maya is called Avarana, the power that veils. It hides the underlying reality, like clouds covering the sky. The second power immediately follows: Vikshepa, projection. Because reality is hidden, the mind rushes to fill the gap. And so the single field of existence appears fragmented into bodies, nations, enemies, lovers, success, failure, birth, death, etc., etc. The one appears as many. What was unified looks broken. What was whole looks fragmented. One life becomes 1,000 competing pieces. Right now, somewhere on this planet, someone is celebrating the happiest day of their life. Someone else is preparing for a funeral. Someone is falling in love. Someone is begging to survive another night. One reality, billions of private worlds projected onto it. The fragmentation of experience is the texture of Maya. Think of a rope lying on the ground at dusk. The light is dim. You cannot see clearly. Instantly, your body reacts. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. You see a snake. Not intellectually, viscerally. The fear is real. The sweating is real. The panic is real. But the snake itself never existed. Notice something strange. The moment light appears, the snake does not slowly crawl away. It vanishes instantly. Because it was never hiding inside the rope. It existed entirely inside misperception. The rope remains exactly as it always was. Vedanta says this is happening constantly inside the human mind. And Maya is not merely a theory about the external world. This is where people misunderstand Advaita. The deepest illusion is not the world. The deepest illusion is the belief that you are merely the character moving through it. Look carefully at your own life. Your childhood vanished. Entire personalities have already died inside you. The person you were at 10, 15, 20 no longer exists. Your beliefs changed, your fears changed, your ambitions changed. Even your body replaced itself. Every cell has changed, even the bones have changed. And yet, something has remained continuous through every transformation. Something has watched the entire process unfold. What is that? Every day you witness impermanence. Leaves decay, empires collapse, bodies age, entire civilizations disappear into dust. You watch funerals, you watch hospitals, you watch time consume everything it touches. And yet, somewhere deep inside yourself, you still believe you will be the exception. You plan decades ahead as though time will pause for you. You build identities online. You preserve photographs. You protect reputations. You cling to people, to roles, to versions of yourself that are already dissolving. This contradiction is Maya. And this grasping does not only reach toward time, it reaches towards fulfillment. You believe freedom exists somewhere outside yourself, in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next city, the next version of your body, the next reinvention. But notice the pattern carefully. Every time desire is fulfilled, the mind briefly rests, then begins moving again, searching again, projecting again. The object changes, the movement does not. Look closely at how the mind operates. The hunger is never for the object itself. The hunger is for the chase. The human machinery is built for anticipation, designed to move toward what it does not have. It cannot find lasting fulfillment in things. So the very moment an achievement arrives, the internal scale resets. Yesterday's miracle becomes today's ordinary background, and the pursuit begins again. Now stop for a moment. Look directly at your own experience, not philosophically, directly. Thoughts are appearing, sensations are appearing, emotions are appearing, even your sense of identity is appearing. But if you can observe them, they're objects inside awareness. So, what exactly is the observer? There is an ancient story about the sage Narad walking through the forest with the divine presence. Narad asks, "Show me the true nature of Maya." The divine presence smiles. "I will show you, but first, bring me a cup of water." Narad walks toward a nearby village. He knocks on a door, a woman opens it, and in that single moment, the entire spiritual quest disappears from his mind. He speaks with her, he stays. Days become months, months become years. They marry, they build a home. Children are born. Narad becomes deeply woven into the fabric of the ordinary life. Work, love, responsibility, fear, attachment. His life feels heavy, real, permanent. Then one night, a catastrophic flood tears through the valley. The river explodes into darkness. Narad fights desperately to save his family. One child slips beneath the current, then another, then another. Finally, his wife's hand disappears into the black water. He is left alone, broken, destroyed. He collapses into the riverbank in absolute grief. Then suddenly, he hears a voice. "Narad?" He opens his eyes. The flood is gone. The village is gone. The divine presence stands before him calmly and asks, "Where is the water? I have been waiting for half an hour. 12 years of love, fear, attachment, identity, and suffering, contained within 30 minutes. This is Maya." So how do you escape this machine? The sages gave a strange answer. You do not escape by perfecting the illusion. You do not become free by rearranging appearances. You do not heal the dream by changing the scenery. You turn inward, not in physical fight, not in merely abandoning the world, but in direct investigation of the one who seems trapped. The question Vedanta asks is not How do I improve my life? It is something far more radical. Who is living it? When you say I am suffering, who is the I? When you say I am successful, what exactly succeeded? And when you say I am afraid, who is aware of the fear? You are not the twisted folds of the silk. You are the fabric itself. You are not the imagined snake. You are the rope. You are not merely the character struggling inside the dream. You are the field inside which the dreams appear. Maya does not hide reality from you. Maya hides reality as you. And when the veil finally begins to fall, you do not disappear. You do not become nothing. Something far stranger happens. You realize that the awareness you were searching for has been silently present through every moment of your life, watching, unchanged. And this raises the next question. If everything else changes, what is this awareness that does not? We will answer this question in our next video. If you like this current video, please like, share and subscribe. And I promise you, we will go deeper in the next one.